Hello my dear children, this week we will study a new lesson, that is fire, friend and foe. That is lesson 8 of your honeycomb reader text. And children, you all might have heard about and know about fire. Fire is a very good thing as well as it's a dangerous one. The fire helps us to cook food, helps us to burn out ugly articles, and at the same time the fire can cause a lot of damages. And in the news you may have heard about the fire that has caused recently. Okay, so the fires always can cause many damages to our properties and belongings. So we can say that fire is both a friend and a foe. Okay, we cannot cook food without fire. Okay, if we don't have fire, that means if we don't have a fuel, normally we cook food with wood, firewood and all, or we use cooking gas to cook our food. So both the fuels we have to fire, and this fire will provide us heat for the cooking of the food. And early times there was no fire. So at that time, how were the old people or the early men living? The early men hunt animals and they ate the raw meat. Okay, and later on they found. So the major invention of the humans is the invention of the fire. Now all the students take your text and page number 114 of your honeycomb text and listen to me. Fire, friend and foe. Before you read, fire is both useful and dangerous. What is fire? How did we discover it? How do we control it? Fire, friend and foe. Early man didn't know what fire was, but he must have seen the damage it could cause. He must have watched lightning and volcanoes long before he began to use fire himself. Fire was powerful and dangerous, and he was frightened. So early man didn't know what fire was, but he must have seen the damage it could cause. How could he see the damage? They must have watched the lightning. Lightning is a kind of fire, and also volcanoes long before have made many destructions to the earth. So they might have watched about fire, and we know fire was powerful and dangerous, and he was frightened. Who is he? The early men. They were frightened. Fire may have puzzled early man, but we know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction. When the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, a chemical reaction takes place. Energy in the form of heat and light is released in this process. That is what we call fire. So how does fire produce? It is the result of a chemical reaction. You all might have learned about the chemical reactions in chemistry, and you might have learned about different kinds of elements. Okay, so oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, all these are elements. When the elements combine in a certain proportion, they will make compounds. So here what will happen? When the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, Fuel, firewood, which contains hydrogen and carbon. So when oxygen combines with these elements, what will happen? A chemical reaction takes place, and as a result, energy in the form of heat and light is released. Three things are needed to make fire: fuel, oxygen and heat. Wood, coal, cooking gas and petrol are some examples of fuel. So what are some examples of fuel? Wood, that you know. Coal, you might have heard about it. Cooking gas, all of you know. And petrol are some examples of fuel. Oxygen comes from the air. That is why when you blow on smoldering paper, it often bursts into flame. What is smoldering? Smoldering means burning slowly without flame. Can be said to be smothering. Okay. So, when you blow on smoldering paper, what will happen? It often bursts into flame. That means when we blow, the oxygen from the air will be allowed to combine with the carbon and hydrogen present in the fuel. The third thing needed to make fire is heat. Fuel and oxygen do not make fire by themselves, or else a newspaper or a stick lying on the open would catch fire on its own. Okay. So, if there is fire and oxygen, burning will not be taking place. Burning will taking place only when there is a fire, there is a fuel. Okay. So, you all might have observed normally there is bright sunlight outside, there are pieces of paper, but they will not catch fire. But they will catch fire if there is a little heat. So, to burn a piece of paper or wood, we heat it before it catches fire. We generally do it with a lighted match. Every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. This temperature is called the flash point or kindling temperature of the fuel. The fuels catch fire at different temperatures. Okay, the gas catches fire easily, the petrol catches fire easily, the kerosene catches fire easily, but the wood of different dry conditions will catch fire in different times. So, the time at which, the temperature at which a fuel catches fire is called flash point or kindling temperature of the fuel. It is sometimes said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. It only means that fire is very useful as long as it is kept under our control. If the fire is under our control, we can burn firewood and we can cook our cooking items. So, if the fire, it is a nice servant when it is under our control. For instance, we use it to cook our food, warm our homes in winter and to generate electricity. So, on all these matters, we will be using fire. But on the other hand, if fire gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. Each year, thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. Vast areas of forest are also destroyed and hundreds of people are killed or injured. That is why we can say fire is a bad master. It's a good servant when the fire is under our control. We can cook food, we can heat our rooms in cold countries. They will be heating their rooms by keeping by firewood. Okay, so they use fire to heat the rooms, and also we use fire to iron our dress materials, also for to generate electricity. So, if it is out of control, it can damage many properties. Okay, so we can say fire is a bad master, but it is a good servant.